Well, let's stick with Donald Trump for a moment because he would claim this is a win at Davos, absolutely. There was a moment, or a couple of moments, where he kept on confusing Greenland with Iceland. Iceland may have been a little bit nervous from time to time during this speech at Davos. I'll show you it.
But in doing it, I'm helping Europe, I'm helping NATO, and I've until the last few days when I told them about Iceland, they loved me. I don't know that they'd be there for us. They're not there for us on Iceland, that I can tell you. I mean, our stock market took the first dip yesterday because of Iceland. So Iceland's already cost us a lot of money.
There you go, you meant Greenland. Let's go live to Washington correspondent Annelise Nielsen now. Annelise, so great to see you. There's always so much to talk about. First of all, I wanted just to go to that because some of Donald Trump's detractors, they wait for any slip up. Some were calling this his Joe Biden moment. He'll hate that.
Look, he will. I was watching the speech and he was making jokes about Greenland being a big patch of ice. And I think what happens with Trump is he goes for a very long time and there's bits where I don't know if he's actually listening to what he's saying. He's thinking about the next thing he's going to say because he wants those moments to land. So yes, it was painful to hear him say Iceland a couple of times when you knew he meant Greenland. I also have to say, after having covered the Biden administration for 4 years, I do have very little patience for people jumping on this and saying, oh, it's obvious cognitive decline, because we saw obvious cognitive decline for years that nobody would call out, and if we did, we were ageist. So I think there's a lot of people who seem to have learned their lessons on Biden and then don't want to make the same mistake with Trump, which I think is a little convenient. So I think maybe you can say, the detractors, oh, Trump's crazy. I don't think he's showing signs of cognitive decline just yet.
No, I don't think so either. And look, they'll jump on any moment. I think 2026 has shown that Trump is already going to continue with what we know as flooding the zone. Wow. The Democrats cannot get a foot in here. They're not getting anything up in headlines. Donald Trump is doing all the heavy lifting, whether it's Greenland, whether it's the Board of Peace, whether it's ice raids. What's landing there in a domestic sense, Annelise?
The ice raids are absolutely landing in a domestic sense for the Democrats. There's been a lot of activation among grassroots supporters around that. They don't like that Trump's behaving like this on the world stage. Of course, Republicans would counter that at least we're looking strong on the world stage as Americans, as opposed to the Biden years where we saw things like the withdrawal from Afghanistan really weaken America strategically. But for the Democrats, I think not being in the spotlight isn't the worst thing in the world either. They're looking ahead to midterms. There's any chance they could get control of the House of Representatives back. There's going to be a lot of governor's races coming up. And then we're going to be right back into presidential election season before you know it.
Yeah, we sure are. So let's talk about the midterms and then getting back into the presidential election. I don't think until now we've seen any real strong names emerge on the Democrat side, but are we starting to see a bit of momentum there? I do notice that, you know, people like Gavin Newsom are at Davos.
Gavin Newsom, Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear is seen as a very strong potential contender. He's a Democrat from the state of Kentucky, which you don't often think about when you're talking about Democrat strongholds, but they do have quite an interesting history. And Mitch McConnell is there as well, and he's seen as kind of that more old guard Republican who's retiring out. But there is that sense that people are starting to just kind of test the waters a bit. It's far too early to say who the candidate's going to be, but you can imagine these are the ones going around trying to get the Democrat support now. We've had Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania, put out his book this week, highly critical of Kamala Harris. There's still an element of the Democrats that say that they should be going for Kamala Harris again, that if she just had more time, she would have done well. And so they're saying, hey, let's give her more time this time. And of course, there's many in the Democrats saying, absolutely not. We spent too much money. That was the most expensive presidential campaign ever, and it blew up in our faces. So these are the conversations that are happening now, because these are the people who start trading endorsements leading into the midterms, and then it all goes into that primary season fundraising. But really, when we look historically, I mean, Bill Clinton didn't come out as the lead contender until very late in the game. It's not that they have to put their hand up now, but the long run does help for all that critical fundraising.
Annelise, always good to talk to you. Great to see you.